Meeting February 14th. I'd like to call this meeting to order. I'd like to stand for pledge of allegiance and remain standing afterwards for a moment of silence for Officer Sean Sloganski from the McKeesport Police Department.
I pledge allegiance to the flag, United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you.
Amen.
Amen. Amen. Amen. Roll call, please.
Mr. Long.
Here.
Mr. Craig.
Here.
Mr. Pitt.
Present.
Dr. Carpenter.
Present.
Ms. Showalter, because that last name gets me. President.
Present.
Mr. Alexander.
Present.
Mayor Recupero.
Present.
Mr. Flota.
Here.
Ms. Provenza. Present. And Stephanie.
Who?
Me.
Any additional agenda items from anybody? Emergency additional agenda items? No? Okay, we have a registered comment from the public. Bethany Williams from the stamp program. If you come up to the podium, state, you can pass your stuff out. State your name,
I'll do it for you. Thank you.
state your name and your address, and you might have to turn the microphone on.
It's on.
It's on?
It's on. Can everybody hear me
Yeah.
okay? Thank you so much for having me tonight. My name is Bethany Williams, and I am the local government policy specialist for DCED for the Southwest PA region. I work for the Governor's Center for Local Government Services, so the branch of DCED that focuses specifically on municipal government technical assistance and supports. I started this conversation with the borough actually quite a number of months ago with your previous manager when she reached out to see what kind of programs we had available. And we thought the stamp program may be really beneficial for Verona as you were looking at, future planning, sorting out the financial plan for the next 5 years, those kinds of things. And so we had that discussion, a little while ago. She obviously transitioned out. And so the conversation went quiet for a little bit, but we kind of reignited that conversation recently, and we thought it might be a good opportunity for us to have this conversation tonight about the program that we have available from the state. The focus is specifically on municipal operations and municipal finance. And so I have a couple of slides here, and then I'll open it to comments and questions from council and from the public if there are any. So I'm happy to ask to answer any questions or clarify any of the pieces that may not seem clear in this document. But the Strategic Management Planning Program is actually one of those programs that was developed under the Act 47 program, but it was that offshoot saying, not just distressed communities who are at their brink of bankruptcy or whatever, need the support from the state. We actually need to be providing support so that people have accurate data and accurate numbers to make decisions off of. And so this program was really developed as a proactive step to not just step in when things are bad, but to step in prior to that so that communities have really good operational, information to work with and to make decisions off of. And so as the communities in the Southwest PA region have found out about this program, it's become very popular and it's starting to be more competitive in this region. There's a lot of people applying. And so I wanted to get ahead of the curve with you guys before the new fiscal year starts to talk about this program. Really what it does for you is you bring in a consultant who will develop a phase 1 plan for the borough that will look at not only the financial projections, both previous 5 years and forward 5 years, to help you have accurate data of what your cash position is, where your revenues are coming from, how the money is moving in and out of bank accounts, and making sure that you have a really good sense of what cash you have in the bank and what recommendations they have for making that a more smooth process when it comes to budgets, give you some really good information to work with when it comes to budget time. But it also takes a look at all of the municipal departments. And so, each of your municipal department heads will get interviewed. They'll have a chance to talk with the consultant to talk about their needs, talk about the things that they see coming down the pike, You know, if there's a vehicle that they know is going to break down in a few years, being able to put that on the radar now so that as they're providing these recommendations in the plan, those things are taken into consideration. So you know where you need to save up for something, how to build up a capital improvement plan, do different kinds of strategies that can help you be prepared for the things that are coming down the pike. What it does for us at DCED is it also helps us know what you need and it gives us a good sense of where we can invest to help your municipality be more successful. And so what the program does is you get this phase 1 plan in place. It takes about 6 to 9 months to do the plan. And then you move into a period of time of implementation. So I'll get into that in a couple of the slides ahead, but really all, you know, who's eligible for this, all forms of municipal government are eligible for this. So you guys are well within that as a borough, and you're able to apply. Where the program, if you flip to the second slide, the program has multiple phases. And so where we're talking about right now is the first phase. And so phase 1 is that financial condition assessment. You will get a chance to put out a request for proposal, review a bunch of proposals from a bunch of different consultants, pick one that is the best fit for you, both in cost and in expertise. And that person will come in, do a financial condition assessment first, and they'll look at the multi-year trend analysis. They'll look at the historic data like I was talking about, and they will do an assessment of the current performance and where you are today. The second is the financial trend forecasting. So for the next 5 years, they'll forecast if nothing changes, if you do nothing different as a municipal government and your finances, your expenditures and your revenues stay pretty flat, this is the potential outcome and where they project with inflation and all sorts of different data points that will help you know in 5 years where you would be if you didn't do anything differently. Sometimes that shows things to be totally fine and you can be creative in certain areas, and sometimes it shows a decline in income and that you need to be prepared for looking at different kinds of solutions for that problem. You know, I've seen it go both ways in a lot of communities, and a lot of times it's not surprising information. It's stuff that you kind of see coming, but you don't have the data to back up some of those things. And so this will actually give you that data. The step 3, only in special circumstances do we do an emergency plan. If you feel like there's a financial crisis and that emerges within the first couple of steps in the process, your consultant can recommend an emergency financial plan. And that would be a more acute, very quick kind of strategy to stabilize finances. I don't anticipate that being a need here, but if for some reason, you know, a sinkhole opens up and you have this immediate financial crisis, you know, we could actually leverage some support there through this program as well. And so that's built into the program as an option if the consultant thinks it's necessary. It's optional, it may not happen, but if you need it, it's there. Step 4 is the management audit. So that's where they pivot towards the staff. They ask Stephanie, you know, what your day-to-day looks like, how the operations function. They'll ask your public works foreman, you know, the same kind of questions. They'll talk to your police chief. They'll talk to, you know, the various people you have on staff to really get a good sense of how life operates within this building and out in the field. And so they'll get a good sense of the needs of those departments, the things that are going well. They'll call those out in the plan. They'll also talk about the areas that need improvement and ways that you can streamline that, and will provide recommendations for all of that as well. And then in step 5, they'll present a multi-year adoption plan. And what that does is it really gives you a draft to review before the report is finalized to say, this is what we think we see in your municipality. Can you confirm whether or not this is the situation? If it doesn't feel correct, where can we kind of look at the data again and see if that follows? And if it does follow, then we can move forward to that final report. And at the final report, once the plan is complete, you will get a set of data that will tell you all of the things that they have found to be true about your borough, and they'll provide a whole list of recommendations. And in those recommendations, what you want to make sure that you see are the things that you know that you need and that have emerged through the process that you need, so that we as DCED can look at that final report after you close out this first grant and leverage implementation funding. And so we can not do anything capital. We can't fix a roof. We can't purchase a vehicle. But if there's planning dollars, if there's technology upgrades, if there is technical assistance of any kind, those things are all eligible within those recommendations. What you should see in those recommendations are both short-term, low to no cost implementable recommendations that you could do tomorrow. And longer term require funding, potentially fundable recommendations that we could come in and support in a phase 2, phase 3, phase 4, however many it takes for you guys to implement the parts of the plan that make sense to you. That final plan should be a really good snapshot of what you guys are doing here at the borough, how DCD can best support you, and the projected next 5 years of financial information that can help you make decisions here in this room. All of those phase 2, phase 3, phase 4 listed on that same slide is all that implementation funding we're talking about. You are eligible once you finish that phase 1 plan for up to $200,000 worth of funding from us. There is a municipal match for all of these grants. When I was working with Christine previously, she did submit a letter of financial hardship that qualified you guys for a reduced match of 10% as opposed to the 50% for the program. I would probably work with Stephanie to just verify that information, make sure it's still accurate. But we would look at reducing the match for you guys based on the need for some help without having to find extra dollars that you may not have to match the grant at 50%. And so we can touch base on that after the fact if you guys are interested in moving forward. That's where we get into the cost and funding slide. The phase 1 can typically cost between $30,000 and $100,000 is kind of the large range of what we see. The average cost we see is typically between $50,000 and $60,000 for a borough your size. What that means is if you do get the reduced match of 10%, then you would be responsible for $5,000 to $6,000 worth of that cost. And that can be on top of the cost. So for us, it would be, we would cover 90% of the total cost of the project. So if it comes in at 60,000, we would pay 54,000 and you would pay 6,000. And that's how that would shake out, but it would be over the course of the term of the contract. That 10% match would get carried through into the implementation funding. So if you were to apply for up to the $200,000 match, you could get $220,000 worth of work done for $20,000. But you don't have to apply for that much. You can decide how much money you'd like to apply for based on your budget at that point. But that would be the place where you could get a lot of work done for a fairly low cost. Talked about the DCD reduction of the match. And I do have that letter. I can share it with you if that's helpful. You have it too. And we can talk through that for sure. The process is fairly simple if you guys are interested. Council would just need to pass a resolution stating that they are interested in applying for the program. I have the sample resolutions. It takes a lot of the hard work out of that. Where really you just need to say that you're willing to pay the 10% of the cost. And if the grant goes through. We would ask you to send out a request for proposals to consultants who would apply for this consulting job so that you would have a round cost estimate before you apply for the grant through our application system. When those proposals come back in, there is a clause in there that says that you are not liable to fulfill any terms of any contract unless the DCD comes through with the funding. And so there's really no harm in sending the RFP out. It's really just a price quote kind of situation where you're able to figure out how much it costs so that when you apply to us, you can apply for an actual dollar amount. The single application on the DCD website is pretty standard. It requires just a budget narrative with the dollar amount that comes in from the consultant as a professional service, and then just a narrative of what the project is, but it's pretty standard and I'm happy to help walk through that process as well. We do have a consultant list to get you started that you can email the RFP out to so that they can respond to that. These are folks who have done plans for us across the state who might be interested in your particular plan as well to get you started. You can also publish it widely and you do not have to hire someone off of our list. We just need to vet them before you hire them on for the project to make sure that they can fulfill the terms of the contract. You're able to interview these prospective consultants and talk to them prior to, and then you have full free reign. If they're on the list, I can tell you they'll be approved. If they're not on the list, we'll just be a part of the interview process and then give you the green light to move forward if they're qualified. And then you're able to pick whichever consultant you think that best fits your needs here. And then if you get the grant, you can enter into that contract and begin work as soon as the funding comes through. really our objective with this program is to provide the on-the-ground support to you as the borough who is really in the day-to-day and doesn't get a chance to really step out and look at the big picture often. We do comp plans once every 10 years. Typically, we do some planning projects for specific subjects, but what this really does is an inward look at the operations of the municipality, that you're able to look at what is required of you as council members, what's required of your staff by borough code and all of those things, and take that into one big document that says, here's where we think we can be helpful as DCED. Here's where you can apply for other funding, because this is in a document that says that Verona needs this, and so you can take that to other funding sources as well, and leverage our dollars to magnify that. And it's a really good operational document for you guys as council to really understand what you're working with and what's coming for you down the road. So, it's really more carrot than anything. It's exciting. It's helpful information. And for DCED, even though the recommendations are down on paper, we don't force you to make any changes to what you're doing. If you don't agree with something that the consultant says, we are not an enforcement agency. We can't force you to implement any of the recommendations. But assuming that you work well with your consultant, the recommendations should all be things that you know and that you care about within your community that we can help fund. And that's really the purpose of the document. As we provide those recommendations, really what that does for you is that you can communicate well with your public. You can say, here's why we're making the decisions we're making, because here's the information in front of us that projects these things coming down the road. So we're making this choice about adding a fee here, or working with an authority to do things better in this way to streamline a process, or any of those kinds of things. And so it helps you have a little bit more data on paper that you can prove why you're making the decisions here in council chambers. Other than that, we're really here as a partner. He has other tools and resources. This is the most affordable grant program that we offer outside of Act 47. So if you're not in that full fiscal distress designated by the state's situation, this is the most affordable way to operate with one of our grants for municipal government. And so we'd love to help you get these recommendations. If you need to do a comprehensive plan, we offer grant programs at 50% match with no reduction. And so if you need to do a comp plan and you go through STAMP first, you can do it at 10% match instead. And so that's a really easy way that people go through this program to get things that they need, that they know they need already. And so we'd like to help, with those kind of things as well. Parks and recreation plans often come out of here. Technology upgrades, we can purchase computers or iPads for code enforcement people. We can invest in software upgrades if you need financial system upgrades, any of those kinds of things as well. And so those are pretty common things that come out of this program. The last slide is just my contact. I know I'm a fire hose of information often, but you're welcome to call me at any time if you have questions about the program prior to deciding to move forward. If you do move forward, I'm happy to come and set up office visits with your staff to walk through the process. I do have a printout to make the process look a little more simple that I'll hand to Stephanie, but other than that, I'm just available as a resource if you have questions, anything about DCD, if you need connection points to anyone, within our agency, I'm happy to do that for you guys as well. It's good just to be in person with you guys after all this time. So at this time, I'll open up for questions. If anyone has any need for clarification in this or questions about our other programs, happy to talk about that now.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Thanks for coming.
Yeah.
Yes,
So, if I understand you right, like, to do this, like, we go through phase one first. That's
Yep.
the first step, no matter what, and then after that, we can use it for a comprehensive plan.
Correct. Yeah, as long as it's written in the document. And so if I know that that's a priority of yours, I follow through the process with you. I'll attend some meetings and be a part of that as well. If that's a priority of yours and it's not listed in the recommendations, I can go back to the consultant and say, hey, I noticed this wasn't listed. Is there a reason why it's not listed? If not, can we please put it in the plan so that we can make you eligible for that funding later on?
We still qualify for the 10%.
Yeah.
Towards that.
Yeah, as long as you do a phase one plan, whatever your match is in the first phase will carry through to all of the phases. The first phase plan is considered viable for 5 years. And so as many phases as you can afford and that you can get done within those 5 years, you can continue to apply for $200,000 each phase as we have funding in the program, through those 5 years. At the end of 5 years, we would ask you to go back and get new financial projections. So we know what you're dealing with at that point, just so the data is correct.
Yeah, okay.
Oh, thanks for coming, Bethany.
Yeah.
It's great to meet you.
Yep, good to meet you too.
And I wanted to ask you, how long approximately guideline average does it take to get to the end of phase one?
Typically 6 to 9 months is what we've seen. It all depends really on staff capacity to provide the data that's needed. Sometimes the consultant has to come back and just verify numbers if things are projecting a certain way and they want to make sure that things are accurate. The interview stage takes a couple of months, but for the most part, the data collection takes 1 or 2 months, and then they start to put it into a document, then they verify it with staff over time. The longest I've seen it goes is for a year, but that's really if the staff doesn't have the time or capacity to really participate more than that. I foresee you guys being more towards a 6 to 9 month period.
And so how does this go in terms of your fiscal year? How's your money right now?
Yeah, so we are coming to the end of our fiscal year in June. June 30th is the end of our fiscal year. We have a little bit of funding left for this fiscal year. The new fiscal year will open up in July. The sooner we have an application in, the better, because if we do have money left over in this year, they will do another round of reviewals. Largely because we have a couple of projects that aren't following through, and so there might be money going back into the pot, which we were just having a discussion about this afternoon. So, if you get your application in relatively soon, we'll be able to review you within that period. If not, you'll be at the front of the stack for the next review period towards the summertime. Hopefully the budget gets passed on time and we'll be ready to start doling out money in July.
So how long does it take to get the that first part done to get our application or whatever?
The application itself shouldn't take a lot of work. It's really a pretty simple application because it's a pretty standard thing that we do often. Staff time, maybe a couple of afternoons first to get the RFP put together and the resolution put together. And then once the RFPs come back, to review those and kind of get them together and then submit through the single application. That shouldn't take a ton of time. Once we make a decision, it probably takes about 30 days to get
Right.
a contract out, to get that signed,
But
do all this.
I can see that taking at least a couple of months by the time you review the consultants, figure out who you want to interview, do the interviews, make the decision.
It can, yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
2 or 3 months maybe.
Yeah, and it all depends on how long you leave the period of time open for people to respond. Typically, we recommend at least 3 weeks, so there's enough time for them to kind of look at your demographics, look at the time needed to be spent, and to put a quality proposal together. That's our average time to leave an RFP out. Because it's a professional service, you guys have a little bit of leeway to interview folks and make a selection the way that you want to. It's not quite the same as, hiring a contractor to do a construction project.
Yeah.
You don't have the same principles, but we do like to see RFPs go out so that you can get a broad swath of people applying
Yeah.
for it. So, but we'll need that email list as well to kind of prompt some response from people who are qualified.
Great.
And would we know whether we qualify for the 10% match before that?
Yeah, Stephanie and I can do that verification pretty quickly. I don't assume that things have changed too significantly. I think we've talked briefly about, you guys are at least in a little bit better of a cash position than you were 6 or 7 months ago, which is great, but we don't look at a 1-year improvement as overcoming a trend. So what we're seeing in the financial hardship letter, I was just reading it this afternoon. It's pretty standard. It's demographics, it's cash position, not being so certain that the good cash position is going to continue, those kind of things. So I think if we can verify just some of that information, then I think we'll be okay. But I will communicate with you guys fairly quickly whether or not that'll be the case, so you'll know exactly what you're dealing
I'm
with.
not sure if you realized, Red, but they were approved for the 10%.
You were, yeah, that's right.
We already were, yeah.
Yeah.
You were, yeah. So we just need to make sure that the facts are still largely the
good.
same.
Okay.
Yeah. The other thing that we had talked about back then, and I just lost my train of thought, was to make sure that we when we put out the RFP, that you're talking to the consultants on the email list as well. And so we'll just make sure that we can kind of prompt them to come in a little bit quicker. Because I do think you guys would benefit from talking with a handful of those consultants as well.
Very good, thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. If you guys have any other questions, you can reach out to me, phone, emails here. Happy to offer clarification at a later date as well.
Very good stuff,
Thanks.
Bethany. Thank you for coming down. Appreciate it. Okay, we're gonna go to comments from the public at this time. This time we're public related items. Please approach the podium or raise your virtual hand. State your name and address and limit your conversation to 3 minutes.
There's one.
We have
Jessica
Jessica.
has her hand up, I'm assuming. Jessica Brown.
Yeah.
Hello, it's Jessica Barone, 722 Bruno Street. I am just, commenting because I see it in the agenda for, under Stephanie's section, that I sent an email to you all. So, hopefully you all received it, didn't receive anything back, but I'm a secretary of the Allegheny River Boulevard Preservation Association, and we're looking for support from all the municipalities and the city of Pittsburgh as well for, a grant that we are trying to get, that will help us set up a management plan, for the boulevard so that we can kind of prioritize tasks and, where to start and what, how to, make sure that we are successful in our efforts and over the course of the next, many years. We don't see this as a quick thing, but, will happen kind of over the course of many years. So our goals are to, preserve, it's a historic roadway, which maybe a lot of you know. Make sure that we stabilize the structures, those turnoffs that a lot of you see along the boulevard, and also clean up a lot of the invasive species and kind of beautify the roadway. So I hope that we can count on the borough's support for this. And that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Jessica. Yeah, that's down on, under reports. Anybody else?
There are no other virtual hands raised.
Okay. This time,
Laura Jacko just raised her hand.
okay. Laura, you there?
Sorry, yeah, that was just last minute. Laura Jacko, 437 North Ave. I just wanted to say that I actually really enjoyed listening to that presentation. And I think that this sounds like a really interesting program that the borough is looking into, and I would encourage us to do it. Sounds like a lot of money doesn't usually come easy. And it sounds like that's, some easy money to do some really cool projects around here. So thanks to y'all for looking into that and for the person who came and did that presentation. And I'm kind of curious to see where it goes. Thank you.
Thanks, Laura. Nobody else?
Nobody else?
Okay, at this time, we'll go to comments from the advisory boards, and we have none. Council President's report, approval of the minutes. We all have our minutes here. I'll need a motion to accept these minutes.
I'll make that motion.
Motion made by Dr. Carpenter, second by Mrs. Provenza. Any questions? All in favor? Opposed? Passed. The next, we have the mayor of swearing in of new officer Thomas Dessel. This time, Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'm gonna swear in, Mr. Tom Dessel, and, before I do, Tom was born and raised in Verona. He's a graduate of Riverview High School, graduated with my daughter, and I graduated with your father. I'm sorry to hear that he had passed away. And his mother also is a long lifetime resident of Verona and went to Riverview also. So there were a lot of ties in Verona.
My brother's own properties there.
Oh, does he? Yeah. I'm gonna swear you in now. I state the name. Do solemnly swear and affirm.
Do solemnly swear and affirm
that I will support.
that I will support,
Obey and defend the Constitution.
obey, and defend the Constitution,
And the laws of the United States.
the laws of the United States,
The Constitution and the laws.
the Constitution and laws
Of the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania.
of the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania,
And the ordinance. Of the Borough of Verona.
and the ordinance of the Borough of Verona,
And that I will discharge the duties.
that I will discharge the duties
Of my office of police officer.
in my office of police officer,
With the Borough of Verona.
the Borough of Verona,
With fidelity.
with fidelity.
Congratulations.
Welcome aboard, Tom.
Yes.
Good luck.
Tom. And Officer.
Appreciate you being here.
Yes.
Yes, absolutely.
It starts, I believe, Thursday, the chief said.
No, the car's waiting for you out there.
Thank you. And thank the board
Mayor.
for.
This is, I thought the chief was gonna be here, this is Graham.
Oh,
Want to give it to
paperwork.
me? He was gonna try, he worked the last 2 nights.
Yeah, I did notify him.
He worked both.
Thank you.
Thanks, Thomas. Good luck.
Thanks once again, and thanks to the board.
safe
for
out there.
interviewing them and, moving on.
Is that
That's
it,
all
Dave?
I have.
All right. Borough Manager's Report, Stephanie Wolford.
I received 2 letters that I was asked to read during the next borough council meeting. The first one is from Bonnie Wilhoit of Center Avenue. I am requesting this letter be read at the next borough council meeting. At the last workshop meeting, the Verona Garden Club requested Verona Borough help to regularly irrigate the street basket. Mr. Craig suggested to council that a new employee could be hired by DPW to specifically water the basket. Let's briefly review the items that Verona Borough maintains for the garden club. DPW employees erects and removes baskets. The Verona Garden Club stores their baskets in the borough garage. The Verona Borough pays to irrigate the baskets every 3 days. The Verona Garden Club utilizes borough office for monthly meetings. So we have some questions. Would council release the cost of payroll for DPW employees and hours worked for the Verona Garden Club? Would council release the monthly rent the garden club pays to use the borough garage? Would council release the cost for irrigating the baskets? Would council release the full cost of the hiring an employee to irrigate the baskets for the Verona Garden Club, including salary, PTO, benefits, health insurance, cell phone, holiday pay, etc.? Borough Council recently raised our real estate tax and now is planning to raise sewer services by 7%. Please explain to the taxpayers of Verona why the taxpayers should shoulder the additional burden of hiring a borough employee to water the Verona Garden Club's basket. Is the Borough of Verona willing to donate the cost of what the borough is spending on Verona Garden Club to other organizations within Verona Borough? If not, please explain why council is unwilling to donate a similar amount to these other designated organizations. Borough Council should be a good steward of taxpayers moving forward with hiring an employee to irrigate Verona Garden Club basket is not evidence of council stewardship. This is a Verona Garden Club problem, not a Verona taxpayer problem. The second one is from Tracy Smith, First Street. I'm requesting this email be read at the next borough council meeting. It has been brought to my attention that the Verona Garden Club requested financial assistance from the Verona Borough to regularly water the baskets that line the streets. Mr. Craig is on council and also was or is a member of the club, suggested hiring someone new to DPW to specifically take on the job. The DPW already pays to remove said baskets that BGC stores free of charge in the borough garage. The borough also pays to water for the water the baskets every 3 days. The BGG also authorizes the borough's office to hold their monthly meetings, also free of charge. Borough Council recently raised their real estate taxes and now planning on raising sewage by 7%. Please explain why the taxpayers should be responsible to pay another employee to do a job of a club that took on the tax. Either find a volunteer within your group or raise their money at Botany and Booze and leave the taxpayers alone.
Next.
Contract updates, we of course ratified the police contract on January 31st. And we are currently finishing up with the Department of Public Works contract. Lower Valley EMS, we have met with Lower Valley and we'll continue to work with them. They are still providing services and we will continue to keep you updated. I'm still here to reach to you that everyone in our community, even if you need an ambulance, one will be there for you. Please do not hesitate to call 911 in case of an emergency. I did want the boroughs know that we are working on looking to hire a full-time police officer as we stated in the budget. We have some certain steps that we have to fulfill before the ad will be in the paper. And last but not least is actually what Jessica had spoke to you about and what she asked, if you've asked for your signature, Mayor, on this for preservation. And she explained it really, really well. So after the meeting. And that's all I have.
Thank you. Code enforcement report.
I can tell you there were 27 violations in January. Of those, this one is exterior sanitation, and disposal of rubbish. So the total again is 27. We are also going to have to redoing all of those from last year to try to figure out how many people have been on here, 2, 3, 4, 5. I can tell you that, your questions about the one is on here.
Thank you. Police chief's report. Dave, do you have that?
Yes, I do. I'm sorry.
That's all right.
It's funny. Mine's at the bottom of the. Complaints received, 100. Total crimes reported, 16. Total crimes cleared, 12. Total persons arrested, 3. Crime code summary issued, 1. Vehicle code issued, 2. Borough code summary issued, 13. Borough parking tickets, 116. Magistrates fines, $132.46. Borough fines and fees collected, $650. Police reports purchased, $90. Amusement devices, we're starting to collect them. It's always after the first of the year, $3,600. Total fines and fees collected, $4,472.46. Parking permit fees, $820. That's it, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Fire chief's report, Dan Teehee.
Good evening, council.
Good evening.
The fire company answered 5 calls in the month of January, starting 1-2 natural gas odor, 1009 6th Street in Penn Hills. 1-3 water condition, 824 South Avenue in Penn Hills. 1-5 water condition at 434 Ridge Avenue in Verona. 1-7 water condition at 412 West Railroad Avenue in Verona. And 1-10 commercial fire alarm, 91 Colorado Street in Penn Hills.
Anybody have any questions for Dan?
Yeah, well, what happened to the rest of the month? That there's no other calls.
Shh.
A good thing.
You just seen Dan leave.
Time off to rest.
You just seen Dan leave. You just seen Dan leave for we had a call while we were sitting here.
Right, but it was really good. Yeah.
Last month they ran.
Say water. It's the way it's
Rupture.
reported in our system. Do you have a copy of the report?
Oh, I did not. I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
so one was a sewage backup, one was a ruptured hot water tank, and one was a ruptured.
Okay, I was just asking to make sure there wasn't any further infrastructure problem with the sewer line or something like that. Gotcha. Thank you.
Yep.
Thanks, Dan. Appreciate it.
I think it's not very-
Yeah. EMS report.
Golden Valley took 30 calls. 10 of them were advanced life support, 9 of them were basic life support. They had 2 lifts and 6 canceled or refused.
Thank you.
Oh, and they are looking for a board member from Verona. We are the only ones right now that do not have membership on their board.
Yes, they said that at our meeting the other night. If anybody from the town, you don't have to be from council. Anybody wants to be on the board of Lower Valley and know what's going on and help them make some decisions. They're looking for anybody to be on the board. If you have any interest, I think get a hold of Stephanie and go from there. What?
I can put it on the group side.
Yeah. Thanks for reminding me. Our solicitors report, Mr. Alexander.
Thank you, Mr. President. I did submit a written solicitor's report. There is a typo in the date that I need to correct, which I'll do and send tomorrow. I don't have anything other to add to the solicitor's report, except to report that we had an executive session immediately preceding tonight's regular business meeting regarding personnel issues and collective bargaining issues. That's all I have to report, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. Alexander.
Thank you.
Our engineers report, Mr. Pitch.
Thank you. I submitted my written report as well. The only item I wanted to point out is agenda item A. That is the submission for the reimbursement for the storm source CCTV work that was completed. About 90% of the work's completed. We still have some grant funds remaining. So I'm working with the contractor to schedule some heavy cleaning of some of the lines that were found to be rather full of debris. And that's all I have unless there's additional questions.
Well, there's a thing for payment requests here. Is that,
That-
that'll come up later.
That's under agenda.
Okay.
Item A.
Very good. Thank you.
Yeah, I have a question. The Wildwood, culvert, how's that coming?
Good, he has about 60-70% of it completed. He poured the entire invert in it today. We did come across a section of wall that has to need a repair done that he's gonna work on forming it up tomorrow. And then he only has about another 10-foot section of the lid to do. So it should take another week or two to finish
Is
up.
he going beyond what you see up there?
So
It looks
he-
like the sidewalk, further on down is all buckled also,
up the road or like.
going
towards-
down,
So he's going down to the telephone pole.
yeah, that's about where
At
it's
the
at.
telephone pole, the culvert makes a turn and goes across the private property of the auto sales there.
Right.
At that point, it's not the borough's responsibility and it's in Penn Mills.
They
were pumping out the creek and moving it down so that they could. Yeah, they had a large pump up
Yeah, I've
there
seen
so they
that.
could pour the invert in the bottom. The
Yeah.
pump's still running overnight, so the concrete can here and they'll be back in the morning.
Good.
Yes, thank you.
Good, Matt?
Yep.
Thank you.
Matt, I
Committee
have a
report. Pardon me?
I have a quick question for Matt, and I apologize if this is right in front of me, Matt, but are we starting to receive bids yet for the spring paving that we're doing?
I'm just waiting on the county's contract. They're down on employees. So I'm working with the COG to get that in contract and get the signatures. As soon as we have that, we'll be putting it out their bid.
Perfect, thank you.
Thanks, Trish. Committee reports, Dr. Carpenter, Finance.
Right, okay. So for the first month of the year, January, we took in $51,730 and change. And we spent $105,000 approximately. So, we had a net income of negative 53,000, but that is generally what happens in the first of the year. That's not a surprise. In a couple of months or 3 months, we'll be getting in our tax revenue. And so we're still okay with that. Couple of major expenditures that we had to pay out was to Robinson Pipe Cleaning for approximately $70,400. We paid approximately $7,900 for road salts and $7,400 for the COG. Our major receipt, other than the normal things and taxes and such, was from Oakmont Water Authority for the sewer rental fees of approximately $58,000. I think all our bills are paid, and I'll make a motion to pay the bills.
Motion by Dr. Carpenter. Second by, was it Mr. Craig? Any questions? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Passed.
I just wanted to point out that I think I sent all of you my first draft of a minimum fund balance policy. I hope that everyone was able to take a look at it. I put a little background in there, but the bottom line is it's to have not less than 3 months of regular general fund operating expenditures for a minimum fund balance. I got some feedback from the committee. I was interested in whatever feedback anyone else on council might have, and then we'll be having our committee meeting on the 27th of February. We can incorporate all the comments and I'll make revisions to this if necessary. And then bring it back, to the workshop on the
workshop.
28th. So I would like to have that input before the 27th
Okay.
from you, Ray, and Vince and Sylvia, you know, on that.
Okay,
And I think that this is something too that DCED could help us with if there are any questions you guys know about minimum fund balance policies as well. Does anybody have anything they want to share with me now about that? All right. well
Thanks,
then-
Nancy. I think, sorry, yeah, I'm still here. I think it's very well written. I was just wondering why, you'd mentioned that, there's an association that recommends 2 months and then you're suggesting 3 months, which I think is fair, but I was just curious as to your justification after providing that background.
Well, other research that I had done led me to believe that having 3 months is better than having 2. But that, what I wrote in the policy was sort of like the bare minimum of 2 months. So, you know, we can talk about it more. Yeah, that was just a fact from the Governmental Accounting Standards Board. But, you know, there's plenty of other places to go to find out what their ideas are about what should be a minimum fund balance.
That was also my concern, Trish, is, you know, the state recommends 5 to 10%, which is roughly 1 month. And GASB recommends 2 months. Why would we go with 3? Places I looked up said that they recommend higher if you're in an area that is susceptible to large natural disasters, like hurricanes, tornadoes, brush fires. You know, those kind of things, which we definitely aren't in any of those areas. So
We're very lucky in that way.
we are, but
Yes.
that's what I mean, but so
Yeah.
I'm concerned as to why we need to tie up that much money.
well, we all put our suggestions in and we
Yeah.
can sit, I mean, we can all
Yeah.
sit down again and go over it.
So please have any comments to me by noon on Monday, February 27th.
Very good.
So we can consider them. So there's that, and then not much on ARPA. I know we had talked about this in one of the 2 other meetings this year. My understanding actually is that the criteria of how you have to spend the money and the due dates of when it has to be spent keep changing on like a monthly basis or something, or at least a 6-month basis, or who knows. But Stephanie suggested producing a budget, which she's gonna do in the next, month or so. Can you say more about that stuff?
I'll be working on the budget. I'll have that prepared for the finance committee meeting.
Oh, great.
And then the workshop. meeting.
Yeah,
Very good. Thank you.
I'll talk to you.
yeah,
Glad to talk to you.
yeah.
Just made a note to talk to you about it.
Yeah.
Okay,
Okay,
so then why don't you just contact each other then?
See, are we good that way?
Very good. Thank you, Nancy, or Dr. Carpenter. Is that all?
yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next up is Recreation and Community Events Development. Mr. Craig.
Yeah, we, at our meeting, we had discussion about the trees in the borough that need some work, but then it came up, this is actually for both Matt and Craig. How do we know what trees are borough responsibility and what tree are property owners' responsibility, and how do we find like property owners? Because like the one place in particular is over on Ridge. The trees actually almost make the road like a tunnel. But we're not sure, you know, is that our responsibility? Do we have to find out who owns that and make it their responsibility?
I don't know where Ridge is.
That's the one behind the cannon.
Yeah, back.
Okay.
Back by
I
Selden.
mean, the general rule is that if they're in the right of way adjacent to a residential street, that's the property owner's responsibility.
Okay,
With the streetscaping that we did here in the business district, I believe that those
would be ours.
trees are our responsibility. With regard to Ridge, I would have to go look at that, but I mean, if that's in a right of way adjacent to a residential area, I would believe it'd be the property owners.
Okay, all right, then we just have to research and find out.
I would agree. I would just, in similar situations in other communities, when they're overhanging streets as bad as Ridge. If there's a clear one that's dead or dangerous, they usually send a letter on that. But in other times, just trimming the canopy, a lot of times the municipality takes that on.
I think we
Because
had
it
that
is
problem over here coming up on Wild
Correct.
for a period of
It's
time.
over the roadway and to put the burden of a resident to.
Well, Matt, when you're in town, maybe you can look at that.
I know exactly what you on Ridge there, they're
Yeah,
low hanging branches and everything. I would just say through my experience and past practices of what we did here on West Railroad. That's more in the lines of a tree company coming in and clearing the canopy.
Okay.
So it'd be kind of like our responsibility to, I mean, just to get it trimmed and cleaned up.
Technically, what Mr. Alexander.
Yeah.
It's not our responsibility, but to go after residents and force that burden on them, typically the municipalities don't take that stance.
Okay.
For a couple thousand, you can have a tree company in for a day and clearing that up.
Okay. The other question we had is for you, Matt, is, it was mentioned that there's possibly either state or county money available for remediation of the tree of heaven trees, the spotted lingleton trees. Have you seen or heard anything about that?
I'd have to look at that. That sounds like maybe there could be something through DCNR. So, I'll have to look into that.
Okay. The only other thing I have to mention is, the Shakespeare in the Park, Parks and Rec has signed them up again. The two dates are June 17th and July 8th. And the two, Shakespeare plays they're doing are Hamlet and Richard III. And they haven't come up with a schedule yet, so we don't know which date or which one yet, but it'll be those two plays, those two dates, and it'll be at Chris.
very good. Thank you. Next up, Public Safety Committee, Mrs. Provenza.
Thank you, Mr. President, and good evening, everyone. I'll start out with, I'm so pleased to see that Tom Dessel, Officer Dessel, is going to be with us. I think he will serve our community very, very well, so a big welcome to him. Newsletter, the newsletter has actually gone to the printer and it should be in your mailboxes very, very soon. Probably before even the end of the month. And the ads and the articles that are due for the summer issue, which is June, July, and August, are due May 1st. So if you have any articles, ads, please get them to us as soon as you can. It always is a big help to us. Chamber of Commerce, their meeting will be held this Thursday, February 16th, here in the Borough Building.
No.
Tuesday.
Chamber of Commerce is the Tuesday.
Oh, Tuesday, I have Tuesday written, I'm sorry, this Tuesday.
Next.
Wait a minute, next Tuesday, you guys threw me off. We'll start again. Chamber of Commerce's meeting will be next Tuesday here in the Borough Building at 7 p.m., which would be the
21st.
21st. Thank you. And Historical Society, they have canceled their meeting, and the next meeting is going to be held Thursday, March the 16th, and speaker will be announced at our next meeting. Twin Vero Ministries, the community dinner is going to be held Wednesday, February 22nd at the Methodist Church. It will be from 4:30 to 6:30, and Longwood of Oakland is hosting it. And Shirley said to please remind everyone that if they're interested in soup, to place their order with her at 412-828-3412. And I'll finish off with Alon. They are right now very, very busy preparing for the spring educational conference at Seven Springs, which is going to be taking place April 13th through the 16th. And if there are any other questions, I'll be glad to take them. Any comments? This concludes my reports. Happy Valentine's Day, to everybody. And thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Provenza.
Yes, sir. Well,
Communications, Mr. Floto.
I have nothing at this time.
Very good, thank you. Anybody have anything for Mr. Floto? Infrastructure and asset management. Trish Red Stick Showalter.
You're close, you're close. Thanks, Mr. President. Nothing at this time. We actually meet tomorrow night. We're just gonna continue getting updated inventories for 2023 is our main priority right now. That's all I have. Thank you.
Very good, thank you. Next up, community development, Tim Long.
Nothing at this time. Our meeting is next Monday and we will discuss.
Pleasure.
Code enforcement and.
Very good, thank you. Reports on some special committees, ALON, Mrs. Provenza, you already talked about,
I already.
okay,
Thank
and
you.
COG, Dr. Carpenter.
Yeah, I wasn't able to go to the last COG meeting. Stephanie went in my place. Because there were other committee meetings going on at the same time. And I think you already told people last meeting what basically went on there. The location of the meeting has changed to Springdale Township. And the next meeting will be on the 22nd of February.
Very good, thank you. Next up, old business, we have none. New business, we got a few things here to go through. I need a motion to authorize the submission of a payment request to DCED for the storm sewer fund.
I'll make that motion.
Motion by Dr. Carpenter,
Second.
second by Mrs. Provenza. Any questions? All in favor? Against? Passed.
I do have, sorry. I know I made the motion, but I wanted to clarify. This is for the videoing?
Correct. I just spoke with Stephanie, the 70,000, that was an expenditure. That will be a reimbursement. We'll get 85% of that back. And in the meantime, the contractor had submitted an invoice for more work that was finished. So that's the additional 12,000 that we have not paid. So that's just cost incurred. So we're requesting $82,847 back, and we'll receive, or we're requesting the 82,000, we'll receive 70,000 of grant funds.
Okay, so we're paying a 15% match, basically.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Very good. The next up is a motion to approve the resolution adopting a schedule of attorney fees and collection of taxes, tax claims, tax liens, municipal claim, and municipal liens by Weiss, Burkhart, and Kramer. We all have our thing in your pack in front of you. Any- We need a motion and we
Need a
can do
motion and a
questions.
second.
Motion by Mr. Craig, second by Mr. Long. Any questions?
Yeah, what is the significance of Act 20 in there? Because it was 0, now it's 100. I don't know what that means.
Which is 0 and now it's 100. The Act 20 is a act as part of the Local Tax Enabling Act, which allows you to pass fees on to the public from your delinquent tax collector, including attorney's fees when they're collecting delinquent tax.
So in
Taxes.
other words, the person who's delinquent has to pay that $100?
Correct.
All right. Thank you. Yeah.
Any other questions? All in favor? Opposed? Passed. The next up is a motion to approve the resolution for participation on regional glass recycling.
I'll make that motion.
Motion by Dr. Carpenter,
Second.
second by Trish Resnick Showalter. Any questions?
So just so everybody's aware, that resolution also authorizes the borough, the appropriate official to enter into the memorandum of understanding with regard to that glass recycling program as well.
Very good. Any other questions?
Just so you know, the dumpster is going, I shouldn't call it dump, the glass recycling is actually gonna go to the park,
Down at Riverside Park on Third Street.
Put the dumpsters on it.
Both the municipalities are gonna use the dump.
Yeah,
Anybody
it's
can.
a joint, yeah.
Anybody can.
Anybody can recycle there.
Yeah, and it's a joint thing between
Right.
us, we'll split all costs and all. Okay.
So let me ask, can you be more specific where the collection place
They're
is?
going to put it,
Is it where they've been collecting there?
I think they're gonna put it down by Pennsylvania, like the older part of the park.
Yeah,
That part.
the Second Street park.
Yeah.
Second Street parking lot.
There's already dumpsters down
They won't be doing
There's
that.
dumpsters there and they have been putting glass in there a couple times.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just haven't been down there.
Don Pensi, Don Pensi, don't make the right on the third, go straight down and then
Okay.
you'll see the parking lot.
On 8th Street, okay.
Any other questions? All in favor? Opposed? Passed. We got the Rotary, as everybody knows, puts flags up around the gazebo and up in Oakmont, and the two fire departments erect them and take them down to do holidays. And they would like to put some at the Doughboy. They have a picture of what they want to do here. So this resolution here, and the fire department already agreed if this passes that they'll raise them and take them down. So that's what this next resolution is for. A motion to approve placement of the flags of honor at Doughboy Statue Memorial Park. Motion by Mr. Long, second by Mrs. Provenza. Any questions?
Yeah, I was driving by there with this in mind. And I know they must have done a study and maybe Vince and Tim know more about this, but it seemed like there wasn't enough room to put all these flags.
I thought that myself. I drove by there today. It's gonna be tight,
Yeah,
but they can fit. They're gonna be about 8 to 10 feet apart.
It says right here, there'll be 10 feet.
Yeah, so
I mean,
give or take.
I'm fine with them putting the flags up. I just wondered if they wanted to consider decreasing the number of them, that's all. Yeah.
They mentioned they might have to.
Yeah.
They're shooting for 25,
Yeah,
so they can increase their.
I mean, with that
membership.
many flags, you're not gonna be able to see the Doughboy.
Well, no,
Well,
it says it in
Kind
the
of
email.
block the view.
They have it to where it will be over to the side
Yeah.
and it'll accentuate the view instead of blocking it.
I would think if we put them up and the first time and they aren't good,
They're not
We-
permanent. They just
no,
pull them out of
yeah,
the sleeve.
we
and
can-
don't put 'em up.
they can get them sleeves moved and maybe decrease the number or whatever
Yeah,
was our
Sleeves are just-
recommendation.
18-inch.
Yeah, yeah.
PVC tubes.
So-
yeah, no, I have no problem with, yeah.
Just a quick comment,
for Memorial Day, I don't know, I would hate to take away from, the monuments on Memorial Day if they put them up. You know what I mean? 'Cause it's such a beautiful monument and with all those flags and we get a lot of people there for the ceremony.
Well, they're hoping it'll actually make it more beautiful instead of taking away from it. Right now, I drove by today. There's about a half a dozen PVC tubes laying on the ground in the dirt. There's about 4 little flags that are like this big. One of them was broken, laying in the dirt. It doesn't look too good right now.
Well,
so-
I guess, we can, they'll probably be up before Memorial Day at least.
They're
once.
hoping it.
Yeah, I mean, I guess like the Mr. President said, we'll take a look at them, see what it looks like. And I hope if
Right.
the board feels that, wow, that really looks cluttered for Memorial Day,
They could be.
they could be
Yeah.
taken down, because I would hate to take away the beauty of that monument.
Yeah.
They-
Or take down every other one or something
Well,
like that.
we'll have to look, yeah.
We can put them on, there's other places that they could be put if they don't look well. They just want. They want approval to move forward to get them in so we can see what they're looking like. If we don't agree with it. then
We can come back to them.
we can move.
Mr. Stoner's pretty reasonable.
The Rotary Club's done nothing.
The flags are actually purchased by families.
Right.
It's like
Oh, is that right? I don't know if I ever
Yeah,
realized
that's
that.
why they put a big, there's a big banner that goes across. the
Right,
village.
yeah, I knew that.
Has all the families.
I didn't realize they purchased the flags.
Every family purchased them and, yeah.
Yeah, so it's not like it's just, we'll put flags up for Memorial Day.
I think they're putting more in Oakmont also, like by the post office and stuff,
That's what I heard, yeah.
so.
Any other questions? All in favor? Against? Pass. The next thing up, the pickleball people want to put a sign up for their courts are open and we've had that to read and anything. So I'll need a motion to approve the signage for the pickleball courts.
that motion.
Mr. Craig,
Second.
second by Mr. Long. Any questions?
I just do wanna, I was working with Jeff with this for a while, if this gets approved, he will have to work with you about putting information on the website.
I saw that.
That was our agreement to have less permanent signage at the park and more signage on.
Yeah.
That can be changed on the website. So I will let him know, he'll contact you.
And I'll have, I'll have to figure out how to do that.
And the other thing was the Parks and Rec and the Recreation Committee both, and the Communication Committee even, we felt that it wasn't really in the best interest of Verona to just start letting personal people put signs up on borough property, because that's a slippery slope.
Right.
So, one of the workarounds was that the sign that we are approving tonight will be a borough sign. It will not be a sign by Jeff or the pickleball people. This will be something that will be an official sign from DPW or the borough. But that will, we just need approval before we can start working.
Okay,
Do you have anything to add?
No, I was just gonna say, yeah, so like it'll be our sign that we'll produce and DPW will be hanging it.
okay.
Speaking of signs, are we gonna put the two signs that we took down, welcome to Verona?
Let's stay on the motion first.
Okay, go ahead.
Any other questions on this pickleball? All in favor?
Aye.
Against? Passed. Dave, go ahead.
The two signs that we took down when the Rotary put the other two new ones up. We talked about putting them, one up on Cribbsfield and the other one down by the park, the ones that we took
Right.
down.
Right. As far as I know, nothing's been done with them yet.
Where are they?
They're in the borough
In the
garage.
garage.
Okay, so they're safe. Yeah.
Yeah,
Painted.
no,
Yeah, we
they were just painted. I think a year ago, maybe 18 months ago, Rich, the one that made the signs, refurbished them. The Chambers did pay for that to refurbish them.
I could put it on the next Parks and Rec agenda,
Yeah,
put it on your committee agenda, and I'll put it on the.
Could ya?
Communication Committee also.
I just think it would look nice. We
Yeah.
got them
I mean,
there.
it's a waste to have. sit-
Yeah, they're two
Gosh.
beautiful signs. Put them on the fences up there
See-
and down at this part.
So you guys want to discuss where to put them? Is that what?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, the parks are a good place, but there's also.
why don't we let Parks and Rec look at it and then we'll come back to it. Let's get through our motions here.
It's a workshop. Yeah.
That's a workshop discussion item. Okay, next is we have a counselors in the borough administrative offices. We come up with a group come up with some, because there's sometimes, whatever, there's people in and out of the office and that's just a hindrance on the office workers. So I'll need a motion to approve the counselors in the borough administrative office policy. First by Mr. Long,
Second.
second by Mr. Craig. Any questions? All in favor? Opposed? Passed. Thank you. And the last one we have here is a motion to approve storage items in the borough garages. Again, everybody's got this. So I'll need a motion to approve. Motion by Mr. Craig,
I'll second.
second by Dr. Carpenter. Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passed. Comments from the public. This time, council will hear comments on public related items. Please approach a podium, raise your virtual hand. Clearly state your name and address and limit your comments to 3 minutes.
Sherry, 759 East Row Road, and since the representative from the state here, given recently there's so much rail derailment, and this is a railroad town, does the state have any plans to inspect these railroads? So this, if you want to bring that back, And also East Palestine is only hour and 15 minutes here from Allegheny County. Does the borough have any plans to test the water in Allegheny River? Given that in their river, there's a lot of dead fish, pets are dying from this derailment and the burning of the chemical. So that's. Okay, because I know Allegheny, Ohio, Allegheny, Monongahela Hill makes Ohio, River, correct? But I'm just.
That's the.
Okay, good. I'm just, thinking it's like, there's undercurrent and it's infecting 200 miles of waterways already. So just so everybody be aware of, you know.
The Allegheny comes out and really work.
Thank you.
That would be something we would feel like a lot of. Right, Matt? That'd be something we'd be-
Vince, anybody virtual?
Nobody virtual.
No virtual at this time. I'll take a motion to adjourn. Motion to adjourn by Mrs. Provenza, second by Mr. Long. Any questions? All in favor? Opposed? Passed. Meeting adjourned. Thank you.
Nobody wants to quit. Happy Valentine's Day.
Happy Valentine's Day. Bethany, thank